sugar. Oh, honey, honey, you are my candy girl, and you got me wanting you.
Hi everyone, I'm Kristen from Frosted Bake Shop and welcome to my kitchen. I know we have a class coming up, so I wanted to make sure that everybody had the directions from beginning to end of decorating to get you through your cookie kit. The first thing that I'd like to do is show you how to set up your kitchen to make sure that you are in fact ready to decorate, that you have everything at hand's length so that you don't have to go running around your house or opening all your drawers in between to look for that one thing that we forgot to set up. So with that being said, I want you all to grab your cookie kits, and then there will be a couple extra things that I'm going to have you grab from your house before you actually start to get into your decorating. So when you open your cookie kit, the first thing that you're going to notice is that we have instructions on how to keep your cookies and your icing before you go ahead and decorate. Obviously, if you picked up your kit within the last couple hours, you're fine to just jump right in and start decorating. If you bought your kit and you chose to refrigerate your icing, you're going to want to follow the directions for letting that icing come up to room temperature for 20 to 30 minutes and kneading it to make sure that the color is properly all mixed in together. Bags of icing. There will be all the colors that you need, as well as you'll have two separate consistencies. The other thing that you're obviously going to get in your cookie kit is your cookies. Now yours will come heat sealed so that if you don't end up using them for a couple of days before you decorate, they'll still be nice and fresh and edible, even if they don't get used on that day that you pick up your kit. You're going to want to cut open your packages or rip them open carefully, making sure not to break some of the shapes that might be a little bit more delicate, something like the whale's tail. You want to make sure that you're not bending them and snapping off some of those detail pieces. You will get a couple of toothpicks to do some of your dragging in your icing, some of your detail work. And then for some of your other little details, you're going to get a plastic container like this, depending on which theme. Again, some things might have details, some might have other things that needed to be added in. So you just want to make sure that you're keeping this close by. What I would say is don't start opening it and putting things out. Some of the pieces are going to be very small, so you want to make sure that you're not losing track of them. Some of them are going to be fragile, so you don't want to put them down and drop something else on top of it where it breaks, and then you don't have any spares to fill in for your decoration. So once you get all your stuff out of your box, you can keep your box so that when your cookies are done, you can store them for a couple days until you eat them up. I'm gonna have you ask your adult or find in your kitchen just a small cookie sheet. You want to get some nice sharp scissors. Now, if you are a kiddo that is a little too young to be dealing with sharp scissors, make sure that your adult in your house knows that they might need to be close by to help you at least with the beginning of our setup so that they can cut your icing bags for you. Your cookie tray can be for two things. One is you can go ahead and put all your cookies out so that when you're decorating, you don't have to keep moving them. The other thing is that if we're doing a design where you're flooding and then you want to maybe set it aside for a couple of hours to set up, you can move that tray easily to a place that it's not going to get interrupted in your kitchen. Is grab a couple glasses. They can be plastic cups, they can be anything that will hold your icing upright. You're going to make sure that you have your icings always up like this so that when you're doing your work, it's not laying out on your counter and flooding color all over your counter. So you want to make sure that your cookies can easily be picked up and moved all together so that you're not sticking your fingers into wet icing or possibly breaking your cookies trying to move them around your kitchen. So I just want to give you the perspective of what my workstation would look like before I jumped in and started decorating my cookies. First thing, obviously, is you want to make sure that you have all your cookies in a position that makes sense. So you want to make sure that your cookies are facing you so that when you're decorating, you're looking straight at the cookie in the design that it's intended to be. What I do, a trick for you guys at home, is I put half of my cookies facing me, I put the other half facing the other direction so that when I'm decorating, they're as close to me as they can be. And then when I'm ready to move on to my second half, I go ahead, I spin my pan, and I start working in the other direction. The other thing is, I keep the non-essential things that I might need or I might need only at a couple points of my decorating time over to my left-hand side, because that's the side that I don't use as much. On my right-hand side, you'll see I have my icing bags. Now let me show you the best way that I have found setting up my icing bags. You wanna have 1 or 2 cups or glasses. They can be plastic, they can be smaller. Whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you have at home is completely fine. To keep your icing bags fresh, once you cut them open, you're gonna wanna use just a very damp paper towel, wrap it around the end of your bag, and then set it up in your cup. The 2 things that this is gonna do is, from resting down on it, it's gonna help for your flood icing, which is a little bit thinner, to not flood out into your cup and waste a lot of icing. The other thing is, with royal icing, what you'll find is that the end of your bags will get dried up. And so as you start to decorate the next thing, if it's been sitting for a while, you'll find that it'll get a little bit crusty. It's not the end of the world. If that happens, you can just kind of peel it off, use the paper towel to clean up the end, and go ahead and use it. But this trick will prevent you from having to keep doing that over and over during your decorating time. So as you're doing this, you want to just set up your bags so that you're ready to go. And as you're decorating, you pull them out, you use them, set them back up so that they're handy for the next time that you might need to use them during your design. The last thing that I'd like to show you is how to knead your bags and also cut them so they're ready for decorating. As you can see, you're gonna knead the bag a little bit, twist the end, and then push that tip up inside the bag and use your finger almost like a spoon to mix the icing. When you're done, you're gonna wanna push all of your icing down towards the bottom tip of the bag and twist the top so that you have nice pressure on your bag for piping. I'm going to show you how to cut the end of your piping bag so that you get a nice round opening so that when you're decorating you get nice straight lines. So on any icing bag, what you'll find is a seam. That's the straight line that goes down your bag. You want to make sure that that is facing straight up so that the end forms a tip here. Now, when you're cutting your bags, the biggest mistake people make is they go ahead and they cut way too much off the end of their bag, and then they can't control how much icing is coming out on their cookie. You're better off cutting a small hole at the end. If you find that you're not getting enough icing, you can always go back and recut your bag. What you can't do once you've cut a hole too big is correct that. So it's better to cut too small and have to go back and fix that than go ahead and make the mistake of having way too much icing gushing out on your cookie. So when I cut, I'm gonna kind of flatten my bag so that that seam is straight up, and I'm gonna just cut the tiniest tip off the icing. Now, just to show you sort of a perspective of what kind of line that will give you, this is a pretty thin line. So if I was trying to do details like writing or something really fine, this would be great. If I'm looking to use this for just flooding a cookie, I might cut it a tiny bit bigger so that when I go ahead and have to do bigger sections, you'll see the difference. it won't take as long. But either way, when we're going through this tutorial, I'll go ahead and kind of give you an idea of what your icing is going to be used for, so you know whether you should be conservative and cut a tiny little bit off, or whether it's just going to be for flooding. So go ahead and cut a little bit bigger spot at the end so that you can go ahead and flood quickly and get through your decorating on that particular cookie a little bit faster. So for now, we're going to move on to the decorating portion of our lesson. This setup can be used for any of the lessons moving forward. If you've already done cookie decorating, I hope you've learned something from this little setup portion that makes your day a little bit easier.
I just can't believe the wonder of this feeling too. I just can't believe it's true. Ah, sugar.